This is Bound 60 Minutes. Remember, it's your show where people who are the opinion leaders get to interact with the rest of us. They tell us their views about political issues, social issues, things concerning our communities and rural area development, city development, and the rest of the world entirely. My name is Ehizide Okaredia, and today's edition is special in many ways. Not only are we going to be discussing the 2019 general elections, we have someone very special with us who will be sharing with you her ideas, her policies, and what it is, her strategies to really transform Nigeria. All eyes on the political sphere. We are inching closer to 2019. It's barely days away. Joining us is a human rights activist, an accountant turned a politician. She served as the co-convener, she's still serving as the co-convener of the Bring Back Our Girls group. She's the presidential candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria. Join me in welcoming Dr. Oby Ezekwesili.
Well, thank you.
Good afternoon,
you so very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
We hope to have an exciting time.
Yeah.
Remember, it's your show. Follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Bounce News Nigeria. Send your questions. Let them keep coming. She's here to answer them. She has chosen. She has not seen any of the questions, and all your questions that will be coming in will come in live. There is no premeditation here. It's straight and as clear as it is. Remember, we cannot choose candidates for you. We cannot refer candidates to you. It is your right to listen to the conversation, choose wisely. With your PVC, you go out and vote for the candidates of your choice. Let's get down to the business immediately. Madam, you could have chosen to be a lawmaker or a governor. You've served as a former minister. Why do you want to sit on the highest office in the land?
Because Nigeria is a problem that must be solved. I don't think that people have awoken to the fact that we are in a crisis. We're at a crisis level where you cannot even afford to be tentative in terms of finding the solution. That's why I consider my run as a rescue mission. I basically look at the indicators that show that we are in terrible, precarious state. You look at us becoming the world capital of poverty, with 87 million Nigerians now considered extremely poor, overtaking India, a country 7 times our population. Yeah. You look at the fact that our real income has not been growing. In fact, it's been on the decline. So average our income per capita is something below $2,000 now. A country like Singapore that we started development process about the same time has nearly $60,000 income per capita. You look at our economic performance. For a particular period of about 15 years uninterrupted, we grew at anything between 5 and 6, even 7% GDP per growth per annum. Mm-hmm. Now, growth is very important because it is with growth that you lift people out of poverty, especially if the quality of your growth is broad-based and it is what we call inclusive growth. Mm-hmm. You look at our human development performance. The recent work that was done by my former place of work at the World Bank shows that we're 152 out of 157 countries in terms of Human Development Index. Now, we know that it is investing in your people that precedes the economic expansion, so we're in trouble. You look at the quality of critical infrastructure in the land. I think I saw a World Economic Forum indicator that showed that we're probably like the 10th worst of such country. We have an energy poverty situation, energy crisis. So we have a destabilization crisis with our security. So the primacy of the human life has ended because life is cheap and it's gone to zero. So all of these indicators and the fact that the 2017 fragility index shows that we're the 15th most fragile country in the world, meaning any little spark can take you. When you're in that region, any little spark can take an entire country down. So we are in a state where we don't have the luxury of somebody running for office to be president. I'm actually running for office to carry everybody along with me so that we would commence the business of rescuing our country. This is not a mission to have a fancy title or an office. It is that I can see clearly where we're headed for. We don't have 4 years to experiment with some tentative, mediocrity of solutions that sort of say, oh, if we achieve 3% growth, we've done well. No, we don't have that option. We really must massively do many things at the same time. And so I look at all of this and I'm saying, I have been in government, done governance, been a technocrat, focused on policy, but the more that I have looked at what has happened with our democracy in this last 20 years, since 1999, it will be 20 years next year, what I see clearly is that our politics undermines everything. And the reason that our politics undermines everything is the quality of the people that play our politics. And my going into politics is to disrupt that idea that a certain quality of people don't do politics. It was Plato that said it, that if you think that politics is beneath you, you will be governed by your inferior.
Taking it from there, madam, from what you've said and from your other interviews, I realize that there seems to be, to your mind, from your thoughts, a disconnect between the technical area of governance and those playing politics.
Yes.
So it seems to my mind they recruit people who stay in the offices to do the work, but those people don't transform from that aspect of what it is, their professional nature, into becoming politicians. How do you intend to bridge this gap?
So the reason that I have entered politics now is that realization that it doesn't matter what quality of work the technical people do. Once there is a change in politics and political leadership, it can go to the dogs. Because the political class is so variable. There is no constancy in terms of an understanding of what it takes for nations to grow, what it takes for nations to develop. So we've now, over the years, grown political class that, as far as it is concerned, being elected into office is the opportunity to gather personal wealth, and there is no consequence for it. And so I have also seen, from the where I sit, the aspects of governance that I'd worked on, together with teams that supported me in my respective assignments, whether it was in fixing our public procurement system, the due process that we worked on, the bill
with
that became Bureau for Public Procurement. That was our work. The NEITI, Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, to bring public scrutiny and transparency to what goes on in the extractive industries of petroleum, gas, and mineral resources. That was our work. Then you look at what happened in solid minerals, where I was minister, and then what happened in education. So you look at all of that, and what I see running through the thread of them after I left office was a constant devaluing of even the little that had been done. So Nigerians call the result themselves by saying, oh, after all that work you people did, see what has happened. You can't, a typical example of what I use in explaining this is that the next person, the person who became Minister of Education under a new government after I left as Minister of Education, was asked, what are your plans for education sector? And the gentleman said to the media, it is to reform Ezekwesili's reforms. I mean, like, what, what are we talking about? So we must get to the reasoning of a person like Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew was, being asked a question about countries, and actually that question touched on how is it that Singapore, which was similarly colonized by Britain, was such a top achiever. It left the African countries that similarly gained independence from Britain behind, so much behind. And his response was that no country can grow beyond the quality of its leaders. So Likwayu was essentially saying to us that we need to be careful about who our political leaders are. If we don't get, top political leaders, if we left our politics to all-comers game, it's like imagining that one day Arsenal or Man U would stop looking for the best of the stars to form their lineup in the FA or the Premier Leagues. So we as a country need to be more deliberate in who we're choosing as our politicians. And I was guilty because I even still detest politics. So I'm an outsider in politics. I'm into this politics now because I want to sort of like be a part of a new spirit of what it means to be a politician. Politics is a process through which you assemble the kind of leadership capabilities that take public issues and solve them for the improvement in the quality of life of everyone.
Okay, madam. You are known for integrity. There's a huge amount of respect around what you have done in Nigeria and abroad, and a lot of transparency. How much did you earn as a minister while you served in Nigeria?
Oh, I've put it in, it's been on Twitter before. In fact, a couple of times when people ask me, I go to my pay stub and I look at it all over again. As a minister, you're something like 200,000 naira. But the initial benefit though was the fact that you had a house provided, right? So you were not paying rent. But after they did monetization, that changed. Or you had car that was attached. In my own case, you see, because I entered government not with a mindset that government was a place to enjoy. So I wasn't one of those that had these issues of, this is opportunity to have many cars or to have this opulence. No, that wasn't. I went to government to solve problems. And it showed in the way that I engaged. My permanent secretary would tell you that I was the minister that never spent an imprest account that was due to the minister. Because most of the time I spent my time, with the rest of my team trying to identify the reforms we needed to work on. They put their own sleeves, I pull mine, I'm sitting. I was a part of the team. So pay in government was really, it was awful. That's why when I hear people sort of make it seem as if, you go to government, you're going to be earning, I am puzzled. I really get puzzled about it because my pay as a person that became part of the Nigerian government was a 90% cut in my pay that I earned as a staff.
90% cut?
90% cut of what I earned as a staff of Harvard University.
Wow.
Do you understand? It required adjustment. Our children had to do some major adjustments in terms of their education and all of that. So this idea that there's this opulence, you can find opulence if that's what you're looking for. That's the truth. The system can enable you to do all kinds of opulence thing. But I actually was not like this person who was so excitedly running into government. It was the same kind of rescue operation kind of mindset, because as a new democracy, Nigeria had a serious debt crisis on its hand. And when at Harvard University, we looked at what it would mean for that fragile democracy to not have the fiscal space that is sufficient public resources to invest in health, education, and pro-poor investment kind of things. We now, as Harvard University, designed this Harvard Nigeria Economic Strategy Program, at the instance of the president that was newly elected, President Obasanjo. And that Economic Strategy Program, I became the director of it under the supervision of Professor Jeffrey Sachs. And so when we came to the end of the road where even with the debt sustainability analysis that we showed that Nigeria was using about 7 times what it spent on health to to do debt servicing, and 8 times what it was spending on education, or the reverse, to service its debt. And then that the oil income per capita for Nigeria was less than $100. It was clear that this was a country in serious economic crisis, and that you needed to do something to support this new democracy. So that was what brought me home. I came home in order to, because the Treasury as well as the Congress did not support President Clinton, who was sentimentally attached to the idea of let's help this democracy. But a US president can't act alone. Treasury has to be with you on it, and Congress has to be with you on it in order for you to find a budget with which to do the debt reduction. So when it came to an end of the road, we now said it came to an end of the road because both Treasury and House and the Congress said Nigeria's record for using its own resources is so poor, it is so bad that it would amount to moral hazard for taxpayers' money of America to be given to a country where they squander their own resources. Wow. So I had to come back to come and establish a system of public procurement that would improve the value that you get out of every naira that Nigeria was spending of its money. That's how come the due process happened. Okay,
and bearing this in mind, we'll soon go on our first short break, but bearing this in mind, how much do you believe that a level 1 civil servant in Nigeria deserves to earn as a monthly pay?
Oh no, we are at a place where what we call our minimum wage is not a living wage. And the reason it's not a living wage is that when you look at the productivity of the Nigerian economy, it doesn't lend itself to what a true living wage should be for the people. So that the first thing that a government like mine is thinking about, and that's in our manifesto, which you can find by visiting oby2019.com. The first thing that we think is, how do you enhance the productivity of the Nigerian economy, and then by enhancing the productivity of the Nigerian person, in whatever sector it is that they operate. So putting the needs of the private sector at the heart of policy, so that private sector has the freedom, has the liberty to be able to be creative, to innovate, and to be competitive, and to enhance its productivity. That is really it, because the better that companies can do, the more that we can grow our GDP. Look at what happened with China. China grew GDP from less than $1 trillion in over, say, 40 years. They are about $14 trillion GDP. We, in the same period, we are just about $354 billion GDP. How do you even, not see that economic management that is well done, with government doing the right sets of policies, building the right kinds of institutions, and investing in the priority areas of public goods that business and citizens need, will give you an environment where private capital can solve a lot of problems. And when the private sector is dominant in your economy, what happens is that you begin to grow. And that growth becomes the basis upon which you can enhance the quality of earnings that your people have. Today's mismatch between, if you looked at the index of the ratio of minimum wage to productivity, the academic exercise will show you that ours is higher than in some other countries that are doing better than us. That's simply because we have a productivity problem. We must become a productive economy.
But if you had to put a figure to it, would you put any figure? Is there any particular figure?
It has to be a figure that takes us to a place where a family is able to meet those basic needs of health, education, housing, and then food and transportation and all of that. So that as of the time that we last looked at what this would be, you need to take your productivity to a factor of, if you took your productivity to a factor of 3, and then you you had the kind of wherewithal to be able to support an increment in salaries, then you would be talking of a salary that would give the person at least a higher than what we call a dollar. Today is this thing of $1.90 per day. Is that's what defines being in poverty when you're below that. You know, so if you did $1.90 per day and you did 30 days, you're getting to something like $60, right?
Yes.
Today's minimum wage is some 18,000, which is the equivalent of what's the equivalence in dollars? In dollars, that's some 306.
Yeah.
306. So 306 to the 18,000. By the time you look at all of it, you see that you want to take your people to a place where at least they are earning $200 a day. You know, if they are earning $200 a day, they are not even doing that well, but at least it's a start of point.
At $200, about 65,000, 70,000.
Yes, but you can't. Do you know why you cannot?
Why,
you don't have the resources.
We'll pause your thoughts there.
Yes.
We'll go on break now.
Yes.
Once we come back, we end that thought, and of course, we'll take your questions. Do stay with us.
Yo, what up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your favorite boy, Amo Shine.
Okay, Mr. Song is the Kingmaker.
If we're not at
Leo the Silver.
Monica,
Angel.
always download Bounce News.
Bounce News.
Bounce News app from
The Google Play Store.
and your Apple Store.
It's fun.
Keep bouncing.